Herman, you did make the point that at the moment our representatives are not our representatives. They're the party representatives. How's that going to change, and when's that all going to come through?
Look, Alec has said, in the moment, if you're asking the Turkey to prepare the dinner, it's not going to be possible. Obviously, the Constitutional Court has requested Parliament to change the system. And I can assure you, with the experience we've had as South Africans, the current government and the politicians in Parliament are not in a hurry to effect that change. That is why us as ActionSA, we've decided to be proactive. Fortunate enough, the Constitution does allow us. And I've made it really very clear with the experience I had. Remember when I served as the mayor of the city of Johannesburg, I served at the behest of the DA. So the party obviously decides for you. And I've said and that's why I felt that the system is actually totally wrong. When the DA started having discussions with the ANC to remove me, because I was refusing to be a party animal. I left my career, I left my businesses to serve South Africa and serve the people, not serve political parties. Here's an opportunity now that I've got my own party with a mandate from 2.4 million South Africans. I'm saying is, you know what? Our public reps are not going to be elected by our leadership in smoke-filled rooms. We launched the campaign just 2 days ago. It's going crazy last night when I got into the room, on the first day of launching this platform, we've already, just in Gauteng, because at the moment we're contesting 3 metros, Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Ekurhuleni. On the first day already, we've already received submissions from 400 South Africans, not politicians, because we requested, we send a message out. It's on our website, where if you want to become a ward councillor, register, we will vet you, and then on a particular day, we will have election in that ward for people in that ward to really decide, because you'll end up in a ward perhaps with 3 or 4 people who are interested to be ward councillors. It's not us. We're using the party list based on your criminality, because as you're aware, for the ANC to be on the list, it depends on how many crimes you've committed. That's only time when the ANC, it's a fact. It's for you to be high up on the list.
They're not your friends.
No, it's not a question of being my friends. It's a fact. To be high up on the list, it depends on how many crimes.
Would you put these guys in jail, Herman? These criminals? Would you put them in jail? Let's just
Without
say President Mashaba,
well,
2024.
I've started, even right now, spending my own money to pursue the NPA to give us the permission for private prosecution, because there are lots of this ANC people who belong in jail, not in parliament, not in public offices. And they're playing games with us, refusing to give us the knowledge certificate so that we can privately prosecute. Now, fast forward to 2024. I can tell you, within 6 months of us being in government, the Scorpions will be back. We'll call upon all the South Africans, great South Africans who've left the force, to come back, set up, be led by professional policemen and women to ensure that anyone who commits crime, whether it's in public office or private, you must be prosecuted and be put in jail. And all the money stolen, I can tell you, I will set up teams to look for this money all over the world, whether it's in Dubai or in Isle of Man. We'll find that money and bring it back to this country. So coming back to primaries. So people of South Africa, Johan, the metros where we're going to contest, if you live in a ward, I appeal to you, not for me, do it for your grandchildren. To make sure that we hold politicians accountable, because we want ward councillors, we want members of parliament not to be accountable to us as ActionSA. They must be first accountable to the public, because you're the voters, because the voters are the ones who have voted them. And party, our party is just a vehicle to serve public, to serve the public. So we really want to really bring back that interest for people to come out and vote. You can imagine with a country with such massive challenges, 18.5 people, more people stayed away from voting. And these are people who will never vote for the ANC.
Why did you decide on those 3 metros?
Firstly, I think if you look at from a timing point of view, I've been in my life, throughout my life, I'm not a young man, 61.
That's a young man. That's young.
No, you look at what is winnable, and you be strategic. You don't just really shoot sometimes in the dark. So these 3 metros are winnable. We are going to take them.
Even Cape Town?
No,
not Cape.
Cape Town. I'm under a lot of pressure from my team in Cape Town to contest. I think they will have to really contest me. I think Cape Town. As I said, they have to convince me because ANC is out there already. I think DA, as much as my relationship with them is what under the bridge, I would really.
You wouldn't think so from the Sunday Times.
My relationship with them is what under the bridge, but in the event they want to really work with us where we have coalition, we are happy to work with them. But obviously, the Sunday Times article got me really very worried and actually made our supporters very angry because I had to be flooded now by questions, people saying, Herman, you said you'll work with you can't work with the ANC, you can work with the with the DA in a coalition. But yes, DA has made it very clear that they're prepared to work with this criminal enterprise. So what's your position on this? So that really, it's of concern to me. So they've got to really clarify, because if they're prepared to really work with criminal syndicates,
in the EFF,
then we've got to, not good, the ANC.
In the ANC. What about the EFF? Did you work with them?
EFF.
That was the whole story, wasn't
it? Yeah, no, EFF, I've had a very good working relationship at local government level. And let me tell you why. Because I'll never work with them at national level. Because at national level, that's where policies are set. And I'm sure you know the policies of the EFF, if they're in power, this country will collapse in 6 months. There's no doubt about it. So at national level, I would not want them anywhere near me. But at local level, Alec, it's a question of deciding, putting a budget together to say which streets we're going to tar, which electricity grid we're going to improve, and so there are no major policy issue differences. And that's what I could not understand with the DA, why they were the most difficult partner in this whole thing, because of them refusing did not like my approach to giving dignity to people ANC abused for some of them 20 years, living in informal settlements with no toilets. I always give an example, and it's in my book, in the book written by my chief of staff, something that really touched me in 2016 when I was campaigning. Can you imagine, Alexander? I live in Athol, just across the street. In one of my campaign trials, going to this informal settlement, and I came across a young lady, young in the sense that she must probably be under 30, someone looking like Connie, I'll marry her yesterday, you know. And I said, my goodness, do you live in this setup? Said, but as you just investigated, there are no ablution facilities. Where do you go to toilet? And this lady said to me, you know, Herman, or she calls me Mr. Mashaba at the time after we introduced ourselves. And says, I've trained my body to go to toilet when I go to work. You know, that's something, this is heavy stuff too, you know. Now, then I get into a coalition arrangement, I'm the mayor. I think about that. And it's, that lady's issue is not an isolated case. Johannesburg is sitting with over 300,000 informal, 300,000 housing backlog, over 200 informal settlements, squatter camps actually. NC wanted to just make this nicer, they call them informal settlements. There are squatter camps. If you look at the living conditions of our fellow South Africans, personally I cry inside. And I'm saying to myself, we've got to get these people behind us. And I think from a political point of view, from a strategic point of view, for us and the DA, I kept saying, let's do something for this South Africans so that next time they vote for us, because ANC has let them down. They are very angry. This is a great opportunity. And not that we take the entire budget. Basically, they were not interested in us servicing those communities. Says, no, why must you spend money in communities that don't pay taxes, who don't vote for us? Says, no, go and cut grass in Athol. And I said, no, I will arrange with my residents around Athol, we can clean up our own areas in the meantime, because we want a program where we can remove the ANC. We are not going to remove the ANC with a few white voters. We need to attract black voters. And at the moment, we will know as DA that we've got an identity crisis, that black voters have always viewed DA as a white party, and I did not understand. But I've got 3 years of experience. It is in the book yes, I now understand why people had doubts with the DA to really be a white party. And John Steenhuisen and Helen Zeller have proven beyond any reasonable doubt.
But they do have a lot of votes, and in the 3 metros that you are contesting, that's why I was wondering about Cape Town, if you were going head-to-head there. In the 3 metros, either the ANC doesn't have a majority or very close to it.
In all 3 of them, they're already under 50.
Are they already under 50?
Yeah, all 3 metros.
So is that the aim? Is that the strategy, that you try and reduce the ANC vote?
Look, you remember...
What's the strategy?
You remember prior to 2016, they had majority in all 3 metros, and they got a hiding. Wait until this coming election. It's going to be the biggest hiding NCS experience since...
What makes... Okay, give us a projection. Where do you think
well,
they're going to
it's still too early, but one thing that I can tell you is that ANC is going to get big hiding come elections, because they've managed to fool our people for a long time. And COVID, as bad as and dangerous as it was, I can tell you it presented an opportunity, because it exposed the ANC. Because the ANC decided, instead of providing medical intervention, they decided to use this as an opportunity to loot further, including stealing food parcels. When we were in lockdown, the people in Alexander, in Soweto, who did not have anything to eat, food parcels being distributed, ANC councillors stealing public monies, the president's office, the minister of health office being involved in this corruption.
And the people know this.
Oh,
the people
very,
know this
very
now.
much aware. I can tell you, I can take you to lots of places in Soweto now where an ANC person is not allowed anywhere near the gate. Since 1994, only once, independent, as no political party outside the ANC has ever won a award in Soweto. Only one in Dobsonville, an independent, who now, this independent works with us. Right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm prepared to, we can put in money that if ActionSA does not win, if we do bad, we'll win half of the wards in Soweto.
If you do bad, you win half the wards.
Yeah, if we do bad. Yeah.
Wow. So the 2.4 million that you talk about, Herman, how do you quantify that?
No, well, these are people who registered, giving us inputs. You know, of the 2.4 million, 265,000 of them gave us 10 to 12 page submissions, because people were giving us submissions of the kind of South Africa they want, because we were not just looking for them to give us the mandate, we were asking them to agree on non-negotiable core values. core values of non-racialism, core values of the rule of law, core values of a free market system, core value of social justice, ethical leadership, education revolution, and electoral reform. And this 2.4 million South Africans, so we engaged. So people had to give us some submissions. And I can tell you, 265,000 of them. I can give you 10 to 12 page submissions on the kind of South Africa that they want, because that's what we wanted them to do.
Well, so we're talking about a bit of a revolution here in a way. These are people who have jumped the fence. If you have a look at what's happened globally, and I think of Obama when he got elected the first time with the help of ordinary people who gave $10, $5, and so on. And then, of course, you've got the example that I mentioned from the podium on Emmanuel Macron in France. Have you learnt anything from these guys? Have you applied any of their learnings?
You know what is really for me deeply touching and animated me. Obviously, my family put in the money, regional money, to start this program. And as we were going along, we started asking people for donations. We'll have, we raise plus minus 200,000 a month from macro donations, people who are committed every month. Some of them pensioners from the grant that they receive. They give us 50 rands a month. Some people will give us 10,000, 5,200. This, for me, has been quite an experience, and that is why I can confidently tell you people of this country are an amazing people. People have seen through ANC. That is why most parts of Soweto today, ANC is not allowed in the homes.
That's extraordinary. What about the support you've had from within the political system? We have heard some high-profile names that have joined you, but how many have come across now from the DA, perhaps that haven't been exposed?
Lots. And you're still going to see an explosion of DA people joining us, because DA has got fantastic South Africans. Honestly, my own guess is that 90% of DA people I've encountered and had dealings with are great, committed South Africans that I will serve with them anytime with my eyes closed. You will still see more and more DA people joining us, but we're not targeting DA people or anyone. It's more difficult to attract ANC, because I think for ANC person to be accepted to serve on any of our structures is going to be difficult, because we do serious vetting. I've got a team of intelligence people who does good work of assessment for you to really play a role. You can register as a member, even now, as a member of ActionSA. A membership is free. We don't pay anything. So if people from ANC want to become members, we can't stop them. But for them to really play a big role, because it's very difficult to come across a good ANC. Sometimes I wonder when people say there are two ANCs, a good and a bad one. There's only one ANC and there's one bad ANC. The only thing that they're fighting about is who's going to have access to public resources. But I've got two great senior ANC people, Dr. Makosi Khoza and Feiki Mento. These ladies, I've always admired them many years, long before I even thought one day I'll go into politics. And they're doing some amazing work and bringing a lot of, political insights to me, including really knowing how criminal this organization called ANC is.
My last question before we start with the community. When you're in business and you're a businessman, it's much, much easier to acquire a business that's already running and to fix it than to start a business from scratch. And yet you're in a position where you could have, 90% of the people in the DA, you've said now, are good people, good South Africans. Why did you not think about acquiring the DA In other words, becoming leader of the DA rather than having to go out and do a startup, particularly as a businessman. You know how much more difficult the one is than the other.
You know, unfortunately, look at the constitution of the DA. It's not as simple as that, one can just really take it over, because that's what a lot of people ask me, says, why didn't you? By the time actually DA, when they were preparing for national and provincial elections, they requested me to stand to be the premier candidate for Gauteng at the time. And by that time, I'd already made up my mind, because I think they were difficult from the beginning. So their constitution and their system is really based more on party before citizens. So you know, you can't change that on your own. How are you going to change? You know, I remember when Mmusi and some of his leadership came to see me to try and convince me to stand as their premier candidate. I said to Mmusi, let me tell you something. Let's not really waste each other's time. Let me tell you, in fact, I'm asking you, start looking for someone to be the mayor for 2021, because I'm not going to stand for the DA any longer. This party is not the party that I signed up for. So asking me to stand for the premier, let's not even go there. What I'm in fact asking you, I'm prepared to serve until 2021, but please, in the meantime, look for someone, because the 2021 elections are around the corner. That's how so serious I was. Even before knowing about the return of Helen, I'd already decided, no, this party is more focused on career politicians, and I'm not a career politician, but this job at the same time is one of the most rewarding jobs. Late in my life, when I was retired, I get an opportunity to serve my country. What a privilege. Honestly, very few people in the world would live this wonderful life that I've enjoyed. But this is a punishing job.
What about Mmusi? What about Mmusi Maimane? He's also left the DA. Could you work together? Would you be in coalition together? Why didn't you actually get together to start in the first place?
So as soon as he resigned, I told him, I said, Mmusi, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start this project, and my family is prepared to put money behind it. Do you want to be part of this? I battled for a month to get hold of him, and a few days before the launch of the People's Dialogue, that's when I met him. By that time, he was saying, you know, he was doing something that even today I don't know what it is. It's really unfortunate. If I get an opportunity to work with Mmusi anytime, because it's a great human being, compromised by the DA, totally compromised by the DA. And I think because of his background, he did not really have the resources like I do. He was unable to really get out on time, or maybe he's not a strong person with me. Firing someone for wrong reasons is not something that I think twice about it. And Mmusi is a nice guy who can take up to 18 months before he fires someone. For me, and not that I'm a bad person. If people think I'm bad, I don't care. You know, but if obviously something is right and I've got to fire you, I'm going to fire you now. I'm not going to wait.
Herman, you said there isn't a good and a bad ANC, the two factions. Would you agree that there's a bad ANC faction and a really, really bad, diabolically bad ANC?
I still need to really come across the less bad. One thing, my own personal experience, because I know those guys for many years. I wasn't born after 1994 like my daughter, who might not really have known what happened prior to 1994. So I know these chaps. They are in office They think government is some kind of animal that must be looted. And that's why they're in politics, not to serve society. Society comes, I don't know, not even second or third. I think when they wake up every morning going to work is not to go and fix your potholes or provide you with electricity. They go to work to go and enrich themselves and their families and their cronies. So, and I've looked at both sides. You know, some of them, it's painful to really look at some of people that I never thought they'll be corrupt. And I look at how deeply involved they are in corruption. It's beyond. Some of them in clergy, you know, and I said, my goodness, what the hell is going on here, you know? These are people we looked up to, we thought I voted for them. In 1994, I voted for them again in 1999. And they stand there, they call themselves the leaders of society, and we believe them. And it's actually a shame that there can be such a disappointment to me and millions of other South Africans.
My name is Graham McIntosh. I am madly excited about what Herman's done. I think he's such a nice man, and he's got, somebody once described him, he's going to be the Trump of South Africa. Happily, he's a much nicer man, and his manners are so much better. But that he's brought in a fresh approach and that he wants to do something for his country is fantastic. I've got one question. To me, if I was looking back, and I've been around before 94, Mr. Mashaba comes from the old Transvaal. He's a Transvaaler, and now Limpopo and Gauteng. Would you plan to move into KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape, Western Cape as well? That's the one question. And the other one is, every vote counts. I think people forget that. Every single vote counts, no matter where. So as long as you do not vote ANC, and in KwaZulu-Natal we have a slogan, Futsake Kongolosi, which means Futsak ANC. And the concern I've got with you is, how do you think you may appeal to people who live south of the Vaal River?
There's a good chance that we will contest eThekwini. I'm just really doing final touches to the business plan. Actually, I've sent our national chairperson is going to be in KwaZulu-Natal and Durban for the next few days, working with my Kosi and the team to refine their business plan. 90% sure that we'll contest it. Just few things that I want them to satisfy us about. So Makosi is there, and she's the national chairperson of KwaZulu-Natal. We've got Faiki as the national person for the Western Cape, doing amazing work. We're busy looking at, by end of this year, we'll have provincial chairpersons throughout the country, all the 9 provinces, because 2024 we're going to contest nationally. We want to use these 3 or 4 municipalities which we're going to contest, run them so well, so that we can really demonstrate to South Africans that it is possible we can turn this country around. Lots of small municipalities that we can have elections, we can win them tomorrow. For an example, Mfuleni or Madibeng, those municipalities, I'm telling you, we can have election, as a ActionSA, we'll win them tomorrow. But I keep really asking people of Mfuleni to say, please, let us not contest your municipality, because We win it. How are you going to turn it around? The municipality owes what, 4 billion rent or so, and the municipality cannot generate its own money to really provide services. So I think it will be suicidal for us to go for such municipalities. You need to really, the big metros, at least, you know, city like Johannesburg, I ran that city. We managed 80-85% of the revenue we generated ourselves, and it was improving. We had already stopped the leaking and so forth. So 2024 will be national. We are going to contest on a national basis. So we are going to be a national party. We're not a regional party. We're not a national party, but not national party of Asia for votes. We're a party with national footprint. And we are busy putting up those structures, but we cannot contest the municipalities where we're going to fail the residents, and ANC will use that against us and withhold grants to us. Because you remember when I took over the city of Joburg, within 3 months, being in office, running a 7-way multi-party government, they were already reducing our housing grants. That I'm not spending the money. I mean, we've just got into office. At the time, all the senior managers were cadres. I'm busy firing the cadres. And there's one thing that I want South Africans to know, and we're doing the study of all these municipalities. All the cadres, because obviously ANC operates on the basis of senior people being cadres. I got rid of them, almost 800. Got rid of them and got them arrested. In the 3 years I was a mayor, with not the support of our criminal justice system. If our criminal justice system worked, the number would have been 4 to 5 times more. So this time, I tell you, I've got experience. And I'll be able to assist the other metros. And I want to assure people of South Africa that we are going to get rid of the cadres. This cadre deployment, that's going to be our priority, to put in professional public service. So we're going to look for people who left the service because of abuse by the ANC. We would really want them to come and assist us to turn this country around.
Hi, Herman, it's Peter Hewitt. Tell me, what is your view on the resolution of the funding crisis in terms of primary and then separately secondary education? What would your views be going forward on the funding of primary and then separately tertiary education? How are we going to deal with this challenge in South Africa?
Thanks, Peter.
It's a huge challenge. I think Jacob Zuma really, did so much damage to this country when knowing very well that this country does not have money to afford free education, and made that commitment. At the same time, you have an economy that's not working. We've got, 43% unemployment in the rural areas, up to 80%. These kids who are fighting for free education, they come from parents, some of them, they are 21, 22. They've never seen a parent in the since they knew South Africa, never seen a parent waking up to go to work. They've survived on grants from government. So, for them, this is critical. So we have to take our people into confidence. We've got to take tough decisions, but at the same time, we need to really be sensitive because there's just no way that South Africa, under the current economic environment, that South Africa can afford free education. Because if you give free education, you can imagine, as I've said, our debt servicing levels are more than our education budget, and increasing daily. We're sitting at 88% debt to GDP, and within the next few months or so, it is going to go up to 100% or even more. And because we're not creditworthy as a country, we're junk, so we can get money cheaply So we can only get money from the Mashonistas, South Africa. No,
It's not quite that.
no, it is. South Africa can't get money. So the only way South Africa can get money, you can get it from Mashonistas. And Mashonistas don't come cheap. So I think we've got a huge challenge ahead of us, and it's not something that anyone can fix in 5 years. You'll be lucky if we can fix it in 5 years. From 2024, because unfortunately we're stuck with the ANC until 2024. But 2024 will remove them from power, and it's going to really depend whether you get outright majority or whether we go into a coalition, and if our coalition partners can agree on us really coming out with aggressive economic policies. Invite the private sector into our country, give them massive tax breaks. You know, South Africa right now, as I was telling you, when I grew up, people who did not work were those who did not want to work. Was born and raised in Manskraal. There's a massive industrial area called Babelechi. I was already a young boy going to school when Babelechi industrial area was built. Huge industrial area, sitting empty today. 1985, I started my factory in Harangua, huge industrial area. I went there sometime last year. It's a shadow of its history. So, you know, we're sitting with this massive industrial areas lying empty. My view is that let's give it to the private sector, let them refurbish these factories. They don't pay rent. Even if they don't pay tax, but at least the local people can get employment, to wake up, this economic activity will go all over the world. We can give investors in Americas and other places, we'll give them better deals than what China can give them. But we're not a socialist state. We're a market-driven economy, and you know, so make it impossible for a businessman. You can imagine if, you know, some of the factories are what, 10,000 square meters. I give it to you, say, look, you can have it for 50 years. You don't pay rent, and I'll give you tax breaks as long as, depending obviously how much you're going to invest in refurbishment of this factory and how many people you're going to employ. And I'll get financial people to work out the model where I make it impossible for a businessman to close his factory in China and come and set up here in South Africa.
And that's lateral thinking, and that's looking at things differently.
Herman, hi, my name is Daryl. I just want to ask one question. You know, in order for you to actually get the kind of votes that you need to turn you into the government, how would you tap into those kind of people who for generations and generations and generations have voted for the ANC, irrespective of the performance, what they've done or what they haven't done? I think I put it to you.
Which people are you referring to? Because the facts are there. I'm one of those that voted for believed in ANC from the day I was born, voted for them in 1999, voted for them in 1994. ANC support base, I can just give you the last election stats, real stats, not fiction. 2009, ANC received, 69% of the vote. 2014 received 62%. 2019 with CR17, Ramaphoria received 57%. Only 10% out of the 35 million South Africans voted for the ANC. ANC is a dying rural party, so who are you referring to? Because 18.5 million people stayed away from voting at all. Another 7 million voted for other parties. ANC was only voted for 10 million out of the 35. So who are we referring to when we say people are married to the ANC?
Just that, you know, I've just got some personal experience with people who just automatically would just vote for the ANC because that's how they are, you know,
Yeah, but the thing is, that's what I'm trying. Let's take reality then, because ultimately the election results are the election results. I'm not giving you something, having a discussion with someone what they think. I'm just really telling you, ANC is a dying rural party. Even the 10 million that they got is because of obviously the money that they've stolen. I mean, I'm sure you hear about these things in the Zondo Commission. So, do they still have money to buy people to go out and vote? We'll see whether it's going to happen this time. And the people are now angry because I think COVID-19 has really exposed them because more and more South Africans are getting disillusioned, are getting angry actually with ANC. We feel betrayed, particularly for us as black people. The ANC has done so much damage to us because, you know, the National Party and the governments before, they've always had this view that now we are oppressing these blacks because they can't govern. And ANC took over in 1994 and they actually HF Verwoerd, wherever he's lying, he must be celebrating. I always tell people, I'm sure he must be buying the most expensive champagne on a daily basis when Mandela is turning in his grave.
Herman Mashaba, thank you.